After months of intense fighting, the Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu is now striking a very different tone on Gaza. Now, he has said that the Israeli mission is not to seize or to permanently control the Palestinian-occupied territory of Gaza, but he now says that it is to drive Hamas out and to create the groundwork for a peaceful civilian administration.
Well, we don't want to keep it. We want to have a security perimeter, and we don't want to govern it. We don't want to be there as a governing body. We want to hand it over to Arab forces that will govern it properly. That's not possible with Hamas.
Now, this marks a change of stance from Netanyahu's earlier remark. It initially started off by saying that he wants full military takeover and possible direct Israeli governance of the Gaza Strip. In a statement, Bibi had said that this strategy will help free up the hostages that are still in Hamas's custody and will ensure that Gaza does not pose a threat to Israel in the future. The plan is to eventually hand over civil administration to Arab forces not aligned with either Hamas or the Palestinian Authority. But Netanyahu is facing pressure at home as well as from international allies over the Gaza takeover plan. Now, on the ground in the Gaza Strip, the death toll has now crossed the 61,000 mark. Almost the entire population has been shunted out of their homes, and they're living in displacement camps in devastating conditions. And Netanyahu indicates that there is more to come for the Palestinians. In Gaza's Khan Yunis, Palestinians gathered to mourn those killed in an artillery strike. According to the Gaza's health officials, about 39 Palestinians being killed in just the last 24 hours.
Our children are dying. There's always gunfire, and every time we feel that we will die. Let them look at us. Enough, enough. Let our children live like other children.
With each passing day, the humanitarian catastrophe in the Gaza Strip is getting worse. The last line of defense against starvation for Gaza, a loose network of makeshift charity food distribution signs that are known as the Taqiyya kitchens, are now on the verge of collapse. Daily, there are thousands of hungry and desperate Palestinians who congregate near these charity soup kitchens, holding out empty pots in their hands, hoping to get some food.
I waited 4 days just to treat the wound I got here last time. Yesterday, my shoulder was scalded again, and I still walked away with nothing.
The border crossings into the Gaza Strip remain closed, restricting access for the 2 million people who are trapped inside the territory, who are facing dire shortages of food and basic supplies. The Gaza authorities say that the IDF has fired on civilians at the border, killing at least 21 Palestinians who are waiting for food aid.
The so-called American aid centers have become nothing but death traps. They are also funneling some aid through unsafe corridors. Just last night, Al-Aqsa Hospital in central Gaza received over 20 victims, most of whom were civilians waiting for aid deliveries when the truck overturned on them.
Now, several countries like Jordan, Egypt and France continue to airdrop over Gaza. Now, despite these efforts, the aid is only reaching a small fraction of the population. Now, the United Nations and a growing list of humanitarian agencies have warned that the Gaza Strip is plunging into a hunger crisis unlike anything that we've seen before. So as Israel advances its newly announced strategy to defeat Hamas, world leaders are stepping up with their calls to end the Gaza war. Across the globe, leaders are now pressing for an immediate ceasefire, a halt to the bloodletting and an urgent release of all hostages. Take a look.
We want to see, I think, two things as Australians. I think overwhelmingly Australians want to see two things. One is they want to see a ceasefire. They want to see the killing stop. Yep. They want to see hostages released.
Again, the same thing for us is, we want to see hostages released, we want to see unfettered humanitarian aid flooding into Gaza, and we want to see a ceasefire. The military action that we've seen is not the way to solve this problem.
As you know, the Netanyahu administration took a new step and revealed its plans to completely occupy Gaza. We completely reject this plan. This plan is a new phase of Israel's expansionist and genocidal agenda. The Islamic world must act together against this plan, and we must mobilize the international community.
All right, now joining us live from Ramallah in occupied West Bank of the Palestinian territories, we have Mr. Mohammed Najib. He's a journalist and a war correspondent and a security analyst. He's joining us live on this broadcast. Mr. Najib, now Netanyahu's statements and what he intends to next do in the Gaza Strip seem to be changing their tone. He started off by saying that he wants to now take over the Gaza Strip militarily. Subsequently, he also issued clarification saying that what he wants to do is not to take over and govern Gaza, but rather to oust Hamas and not to let Fatah come in, but instead to hand over the governance of the Gaza Strip to some other civilian entity that can then govern Gaza Strip. In your assessment, what do you think the Israeli Prime Minister is actually trying to do here? And in what other way can he, in fact, bring about a possibility of another party governing Gaza?
Actually, the change in the tone of the Prime Minister's speech and issue opposition toward the for reoccupation of the Gaza Strip came as is not a concession, but it came as a reflection to the internal and external pressures and the political dilemma that he faced, as all the chiefs of the Israeli security forces reject the plan for the full reoccupation of the Gaza Strip and described as a catastrophic that will not allow the return of the Israeli hostages in Gaza, and they are warned from the cost of that. In addition to the international pressure against Israel from Saudi Arabia, Egypt, Jordan, British, Australia, Belgium, all other countries, as well as the UN Security Council will hold tomorrow a session to discuss that issue. So the international pressures and the internal pressures on Netanyahu pushed him to change the tone about the targets and the tactics to occupy the Gaza Strip. Actually, the 2 million Palestinians of Gaza who suffered for the past 22 months of the severe starvation, and the world is shocked by that, they will suffer more and more by those collective punishment if he decides to go ahead with his plan to occupy the rest of the Gaza Strip. Israel now controls 75% of the Gaza Strip, and it wants to continue on the 25% of the Gaza Strip, so the displacement of the other million Palestinians to other areas and to deepen the sufferance of the people of Gaza.
Right. Now, even some of the staunchest allies of the State of Israel, for instance, like France, Britain and Canada, have come out and said that they do not support the Israeli takeover of the Gaza Strip. But the key issue is what the Americans, of course, have to say and do for the next Israeli steps. In your assessment, what do you think the American reaction is likely to be?
Despite the Trump support for Netanyahu, but the Americans don't want to see a long Israeli occupation of the Gaza Strip. They don't want to see the starvation. Actually, the Israeli Prime Minister, in his phone call with Trump 2 days ago, he denied completely that there is starvation in the Gaza Strip and said it's fabricated by Hamas. But Netanyahu shouted, Trump shouted and told him he has proofs that there is a starvation in the Gaza. And the United States wants to have a role for the Palestinian Authority in the next day after the stop of the war in the Gaza Strip. But the Israeli Prime Minister doesn't want to see any role for the Palestinian Authority in the Gaza Strip. So there's a disagreement points between the United States of the Trump administration and the Netanyahu Prime Minister of Israel position.
All right, we'll have to leave it there. Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Najib, for joining us from Ramallah and getting us that perspective there.
Thank you.
For all the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.